been gardening for almost 20 years, and the thing that drew me to gardening in the first place is food. I am obsessed with being able to grow or to forage my own food. It always feels like this incredible miracle that you put seeds in the ground and out of it, you know, you get this life-sustaining items so easily. It's just, I'm very passionate about it. Here on Red Roof Family Farm, flowers were always supplementary to the food. But over the years, as we went down and sold at the farmer's market, as we opened up our roadside stand, we learned that the gap in our market that the customers wanted us to fill was flowers. So now we have a flower farm. And as we go into our 5th year, we have a lot of flowers that we're going to be growing. And I have shared a lot of flower seeds that I've purchased. But I do still grow food. This is a question I get all the time. Do you still grow food? And the answer is yes. And so today I'm going to share with you the vegetables that I bought from Johnny Seeds. And specifically, this is tomatoes, cucumbers, and eggplants mostly. The reason why I'm going to be sharing so few seeds and why I bought so few food seeds isn't because we're going to grow a small amount, but it's because I have a literal acre farm's worth of seeds. So I have so many seeds in my veggie seed cart that I don't really need to worry about buying seeds for myself for a few more years. So this was just me filling in gaps, but I'm also going to share details about, other things that I enjoy growing. Thanks to our sponsor, MyHeritage. MyHeritage DNA is a leading global family history and DNA service that makes exploring your family history easier than ever. A couple weeks ago, I did my simple DNA test. I swabbed my cheeks for 30 seconds, broke the swabs off into the vials, packed everything up, and mailed it off. While I was waiting, I played around with the website. The photo feature that allowed me to enhance, colorize, and animate old family photos was fun. But now, the DNA results are in, so let's check them out. Whoa. Ian, you gotta check this out. The results say that I'm 100% right. But for real, these results are actually really interesting because it's the family history that I've always been told, and they just found it in my DNA. I was 40% English, 33% East European, 13% Irish, Scottish, Welsh, and 6% Balkan. One of the things that I found extra interesting is the fact that I've been identified as being from the Slovakia genetic group. My dad's mom is from Slovakia, and she's always the person that I thought I looked the most like out of my family. So those must be some extra strong genes to come out in the data. Buy a DNA kit with the link below and use the coupon code GRASS for free shipping. As an added bonus, you can start a 30-day free trial with MyHeritage's best subscription for family history research and enjoy a 50% discount if you decide to continue. First off, I'm going to share with you the tomatoes that I purchased, but for context, this is a bag full of tomato seeds that I already own. So in here, there's, I don't know, probably like 50, maybe even 100 varieties, lots and lots of seeds. When I go and I buy my tomato seeds, I'm usually buying in like 100 seed packs because tomato seeds keep really, really well. As long as you're keeping them dry and out of sunlight, your tomato seeds could easily last for 10 or 15 years without needing to worry. So I have a lot of tomatoes. Problem is, a lot of these tomatoes that are in here are tomatoes that I was growing for a seedling sale. We used to do a seedling sale on the farm, and the tomatoes were one of our biggest draws. We would have, so many varieties. We'd grow all these varieties that people couldn't really find anywhere else. And so a lot of those seeds that I have are things that weren't for me, but things that were for other people. So this bag is full of a lot of things that I don't necessarily want to grow for myself. San Marziano was always one of our #1 sellers, and I just don't have much interest in growing a specifically paste tomato. Everyone always wanted heirlooms. So there's a lot of just the classic heirloom varieties in here, like Brandywine and a lot of stuff that has mountain in the name. And if I'm gonna go and grow an heirloom, there's only really one that I wanna grow, and that is Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye, which I buy from Brad at Wild Boar Farms. But the last time I bought it, I bought like 300 seeds. So I have a lot of those to keep myself supplied. Other tomatoes in here that I don't really want are oranges and yellows. Chef's Choice from Johnny's is one that, you know, I grew and I enjoyed growing, but if I'm only growing tomatoes for myself, I'm just not gonna give it space in the farm. We used to grow a cherry tomato mix, and because of that, I had a whole array of colors in cherry tomatoes. I would buy all the bumblebees. I would buy black cherry, get something dark. I would buy Lametto, which was a beautiful green. My yellow was always Barry's Crazy Cherry, which I still do enjoy growing for myself, and I have a few, but I only really need one because those plants produce so much. One set of seeds in here that I am really excited about still is stuff from a local seed company, Sunshine Farms. These are grown in the Okanagan for Okanagan growers by an Okanagan seed company. And so that, you know, seed farmers are near and dear to my heart. So obviously I have to support my local guy, and they have some incredible tomatoes. If you're Canadian, I suggest checking out their website. They have some really fun stuff. And so these, I used to buy these in huge quantities to be able to grow them out to have for the seedling sale. So I have years and years supplied in these seeds too. But we were running low on some of our favorites, and so when I was buying my flowers at Johnny Seeds, these were the tomatoes that I tacked on to fill in. So first up, to round out the cherry tomatoes, these are our absolute favorites. Like I said, we have all those colors that we used to grow. We're not growing those any longer. But what I do insist on growing is Sun Gold cherry tomatoes. This is Ian's favorite tomato. Sun Gold cherry tomatoes are super sweet. They taste like candy. They're a golden color, and in general, I find those golden tomatoes to be lower in acid, which, you know, just yet again ups the sweetness on it. I can't not grow this tomato. I have to grow this tomato every single year, or else Ian will get grumpy at me. So we used up the last of the seeds last year, and so we had to get another pack. And I bought 100 seeds of it because, you know, every year I'm gonna grow 10 or 20 of the seeds out, and so I need them. I need lots. And then my favorite red cherry tomato is Sakura. And this is actually the cherry tomato that when we grew the cherry tomato for the farm mix, we grew 50% of this red cherry tomato. This is, you know, the best cherry tomato for selling. The cherry tomatoes are a little bit bigger than your standard cherry tomato size. Red, beautiful, shiny. They don't crack very easily. They ripen really nicely on the vine. Super productive, super prolific. These big, long, huge, I forget what they're called, cascades of tomatoes. Just a lot of tomatoes that were great for selling. These have a really good shelf life. Cherry tomatoes in general, a lot of them you really want to be eating them off of the plant. These I found easily, you could get a week on the counter without any sort of problems. And if you weren't picking them vine ripened, we always were, but yeah, you could probably pick these and have them be good for 2, 3, 4 weeks even, depending on how ripe they were when you pulled them off the plant. So this was money for us. This is what made it so we were able to sell the cherry tomato mix successfully. But I also really like it. The flavor on it is, it's like mild. It's kind of a medium acid, medium sweetness. It's juicy. You know, I like that it's a little bit bigger, a bit more of a snack. You can chop it up for salads. I really enjoy this. So this is the red cherry tomato that we have in our garden. And then going back, if you've watched any of our older veggie videos, you will see me obsess over and over and over again about Juliet. Juliet is my #1 favorite tomato. If I could only grow one tomato, I would grow 100 plants of Juliet. And honestly, like, if it was only me, if I didn't have to be growing for the other people in the family, I probably would only grow Juliet just for myself. It's a smaller paste tomato or a larger grape tomato is kind of the size. It's this weird, you know, nothing else is the size that the Juliets are. They're kind of their own category. They're very dry. They're like a paste tomato. They're not super sweet and dry. They're not, you know, kind of medium acid, very similar to a paste tomato. Absolutely love just kind of that firm meatiness in a tomato. And so Juliet is always what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for, I bite into it and into a cherry tomato and juice flies everywhere. I'm not looking for, you know, I like the sun gold, but I'm not looking for that super sugary sweetness in a tomato. I want it to, you know, be almost like meaty and savory in my mouth. I want to feel like I'm eating something substantial. And so for me, you know, the Juliet is awesome. They're small enough that you can use them as a cherry tomato. Like, I'll happily just snack on them out in the garden. They're a great salad tomato. One of my problems that I have with, you know, salad tomatoes is you cut them open, they're just juice, right? There's no tomato left for going in your salad, or you add it to the salad and it just waters down, you know, all the dressing that you've added into it. So the Juliet, when you chop it up, because it's so dry, it actually is really nice in a salad. Also, because they're so dry and meaty, they make an amazing sun-dried tomato. We would cut them into quarters lengthwise and then pop them into our dehydrator, completely dry them out, and, you know, store a huge amount of them. And then, because they are like a paste tomato, they make a really incredible sauce. I really like to have tomato skins inside of my tomato sauces. And so the fact that the Juliets were small, which would make them difficult to, you know, peel the skin, was never an issue for me because I wanted those skins in there. The skins hold so much of the flavor for the tomato that, you know, even though like maybe it's a bit fibrous for when you're eating a pasta sauce, I really enjoy it. So for me, Juliet's perfect. I'd gladly freeze them up to have for tomato sauce all year long. I'd gladly sun dry them to have, you know, sun-dried tomatoes and everything. I'd gladly eat them as a snacker out in the garden. But what I'm holding in my hand isn't a pack of Juliet. And partially because, like, the last time I bought Juliet, I bought like 1,000 packs, so I still have lots of Juliet seeds. But what I'm holding in my hand is Verona. And this is a tomato that I tried out a few years ago from Johnny Seeds. They brought it in to replace Juliet. They carry Juliet now, but I think that they were trying to bump it out for Verona. Juliet is amazing. I don't think I mentioned this, which is like the biggest perk of all. The thing about Juliet is it produces more than any tomato ever could. It starts early because the tomatoes are small, so it doesn't take a long time for the fruit to ripen. It goes super late. I find that it sets fruit in like higher temperatures. It's like, because we get some temperatures where maybe other plants would be a little bit delayed. You know, like the bigger tomatoes, the plants are just more fussy. And with this, it grows like a cherry tomato, just grows like a weed. Because Juliet is already the perfect tomato, it's kind of like why did Johnny's bother to try to find something better? And the reason is because, unlike me, who likes a really bland tomato, people were looking for a Juliet with just a little bit more flavor. And so Verona came in as a little bit of a richer, stronger taste. They still have that amazing high production. They still have that early season, late season that Juliet has. Just overall, this was, surprisingly to me, because I'm obsessed with Juliet, actually probably a better tomato. I still like Juliet because I do like that bland flavor, but I like the Verona too. So now I really like to have this one in the mix. You know, if I'm gonna have only Juliet, 100 plants, only Juliet, maybe like 50 of them Verona, 50 of them Juliet. That's kind of like Serina's ideal world. In my mind, these kind of larger grape tomatoes are the perfect tomato for people who don't have a massive garden. They're the perfect tomato for people who only really have space for a couple tomato plants in their backyard because they're so versatile. You can cook with them, you can, chop them up, eat them fresh, you can snack on them. So I really like this type of tomato. Two other varieties that are in the similar size and like usage is the Torch series. Tomatoes that I've tried from Johnny's. There's Red Torch and Bronze Torch, and those I really like too. I used to grow them for the looks. What I wanted was people to buy Juliet. I used to grow Red Torch and Bronze Torch to mix it in, to make the mix look a lot more beautiful. The flavor's a little bit richer, but honestly, Verona probably has the same flavor that the Torches have. Bronze Torch was my preferred. I found Red Torch would have some blossom end rot issues. Bronze Torch was just a little bit more disease resistant. And then yet again, both of them didn't have the productivity and didn't have the same disease resistance of the Juliet and the Veronas. But, another great option. Have a Juliet, a Verona, and a Bronze Torch, right? If you only have space for 3. Okay, and then I have one more big tomato from Johnny's, and I have a gripe about John. I'm a little annoyed with Johnny's when it comes to tomatoes this year because I was very limited for what I could buy for bigger tomatoes from Johnny's because a lot of the more greenhouse tomato varieties were not able to be shipped to Canada this year. In the past, almost all the tomatoes have been fine to get shipped to Canada, but it seems like they brought in a new series of stuff and it just didn't, I don't know why, but it wasn't legal for them to ship them to Canada. What I really wanted was Big Dina. These tomato seeds are so expensive. They're like $1 a seed, but I've grown them in the past for sales on the farm. Actually, like one of the first years that we really tried to sell more tomatoes, I was all about the Big Dina. And the reason is super high production, really, really good productivity on it. Just very, very shelf stable, very good for bringing down to the market and handling. A lot of the heirloom tomatoes, you touch them, they're bruised. You pick them off the plant, they're bruised. You've started a timer for getting that into your mouth before it's not going to be good. And when you need to pick things and then bring them to the market and then customers need to bring them home, if you want to be selling vine ripened fruit, the heirlooms are just really tricky. So Big Dina was amazing for just having a little bit more ability to be handled. And then they looked perfect. It blew my mind, right? You know what a tomato looks like. There's some cracks there, it's the Big Dinas, every single one of them came off the plant and they looked like they were photoshopped. Every single one. They were so beautiful. I loved them. $1 seed, no problem. I want, a bucket tomato plant, right? I want a lot of tomatoes off of one plant. I'd rather spend the money to get the expensive seed and get the perfect thing than spend a little bit of money and have to fuss with lots of plants. I was gonna buy that, they were sold out. As I was going through the tomatoes, what I was specifically looking for was a firm tomato. Firm tomatoes get a bad rap in general, when you go around on the internet. Everyone's always going on and on about, the heirloom tomatoes, they're so amazing, they're so delicious. In general, I find heirloom tomatoes to not be the texture that I'm personally looking for. I find heirloom tomatoes can be mealy. And I know that that's me. Lots of people like that texture in their tomatoes, but I'm growing for me now. So there's no reason why I can't have, a nice firm tomato. A lot of people think when they hear firm tomato, they think bad flavor. They think, it's going to taste like cardboard. But the reality is a vine ripened tomato is a vine ripened tomato. And from what I've grown, I've found that the vine ripened heirlooms, honestly, they taste just as good as these more traditional greenhouse tomatoes that are vine ripened. If you pick an heirloom tomato at the stage that they pick the greenhouse tomatoes to put to the grocery store, it tastes the same. It doesn't taste good. An unripe tomato doesn't taste good. I I think people should give a little bit more forgiveness to these firmer tomatoes, right? It doesn't have to be an heirloom to have good flavor. It just needs to be picked at the right time. But yeah, so all the firmer tomatoes that I wanted from Johnny's, I couldn't get. And so then I started hunting through, and I couldn't really find anything that was being stated to be firmer. And I knew I wanted something firmer. I already have like lots of options for stuff that's, not soft, but not firm. I wanted just, I want my tomatoes like my bed, extra hard. So what I picked up for myself, because I wanted something, was Carolina. I don't know, I've never grown this before. I wouldn't normally purchase this, but it sounded like it might have some of the firmer characteristics that I'm looking for. And then, because I didn't find what I was looking for at Johnny's, I went to Domestic, a Canadian seed company, William Dam Seeds, and I ordered in a couple other tomatoes. So from them, I ordered Cobra. It's a greenhouse variety. Being a greenhouse variety, it's more likely to be firm. It's supposed to have really high production on it. And so I picked that up to give it a try. And then I also picked up Big Beef, just standard beef tomato. I grow tomato seedlings still for my local garden club. And I didn't have something that has that kind of like label appeal like Big Beef has. So I picked up a pack of that, and I'm gonna try a few for myself too, because it's the Big Beef in general is just a little bit firmer than some of those heirlooms. So good stuff for tomatoes coming this year. In the tomato family, I have husk cherries or Cape gooseberries. I love growing these. These are super fun. They're so cute in their little paper. They're of the tomatillo family. They have this like almost tropical fruit flavor to them. But most of all, they're just kind of like a fun little snack thing to have in the garden. My kids really enjoy them. They're not my favorite. I'd rather have a tomato. But it's fun to have them in the mix, and the plants are really interesting the way they kind of drop onto the ground and then you pick up the fruit off the ground. And I was completely out of seeds for that, so I needed to get a new pack. I could probably do a talk about tomato seeds for 24 hours live challenge and get to the end of it and still have more to say. But so we're gonna continue on. The next up, we got cucumbers, which, I don't know that I could talk about cucumbers for 24 hours, but I probably could do a good 10-hour session on cucumbers. I feel like I'm getting close to the like perfect cucumber. I love cucumbers, not necessarily as like something that I pick and I bring into the house, but cucumbers for me are like my Gatorade. I need cucumbers out in the garden, and just as I walk through the garden, as I'm working in the sun, I'm drinking lots of water, but I'm also eating a lot of cucumbers. On the average day here on the farm, I'll probably eat like 3 cucumbers in the summer. And so I like to have a lot of cucumber plants. And I've gotten pretty picky over the years trying to get the best one of all. And I keep being like, I think I found the perfect cucumber. And then I taught myself. First cucumber that I found that I was like, okay, this is the best cucumber, is Tasty Green. And I have a 2,500 seed pack here because we grew so many of them on the farm and for the seedling sale. So I still have lots of these. But then I started experimenting with even more stuff, and it brought me to Unagi from Johnny Seeds, which Johnny's has it labeled as the cucumber we didn't know we needed until we had it. And that's kind of exactly how I feel about it. It's a Bite Alpha and Asian cross. I found that the Asian cucumbers were the ones that I was being pulled to more and more. But this, it just has some of the sophistication that you see in an English cucumber mixed with all the amazing things that you get out of these Asian cucumbers, where they're like long and straight and sweet and seedless. Like the Asian cucumbers are really incredible. And after growing this, I was like, okay, no, Unagi. this is the best cucumber ever. I was like, no, this is the one we're growing from now on. We'll keep tasty green for the seedling still. This is my cucumber. At the same time that I was deciding that this is the best cucumber, I also was experimenting with white cucumbers, and I found this white pickling cucumber, which I can't remember off the top of my head right now, but it also wasn't available in the States. It was only at William Dam, so it's kind of beside the point. And I was like, whoa, maybe this is a toss-up, unagi and this white pickling cucumber. These are both like the best cucumber I've ever had. And so the next year when I went to Johnny's to buy more of unagi, I saw that they had itachi, and this is a white Asian cucumber. And when I grew this out, I was like, whoa, okay, maybe this is the best cucumber I've ever had. It had all the things that I loved about the Asian cucumber, but then with like this incredible flavor that the white cucumbers had. So this was like just taking the, like, I was like, oh yeah, my cucumber game is like going up a whole nother notch by having this itachi. And so, you know, I was out of the seeds. I had to go buy new ones this year because they're the best. I have to have the best. And then I saw that Johnny's has sashimi. And they were kind of like, well, like, this is new. Maybe this is even better. They said it's similar to Tasty Jade, which for them, I think, is an improved version of Tasty Green. They said, but then it has powdery mildew resistance. And I do get powdery mildew eventually taking out my cucumbers in the tunnel, and my cucumbers in the field, I definitely have to succession plant them because the powdery mildew will eventually come and get it. So I was like, whoa, I don't know, maybe sashimi, maybe this year I'm gonna discover that this is the best cucumber I've ever had. So I'm really excited to try this one out. Okay, and then finally we're on to eggplants. Eggplants is a tricky one because I'm in Canada, and eggplants, they like a lot of heat to be able to be grown successfully. I'd always tried and failed with eggplants. The first year I had success with eggplants was the first year that I had a greenhouse. And because I love eggplants so much, for me, just having the ability to grow eggplants made the greenhouse worth it. It was kind of like, this costs money, but so does buying eggplants in the grocery store. Eggplants are really, really expensive to purchase. Ever since then, I've been looking, kind of refining what is the eggplant that's gonna work best for me. Even in the greenhouse, you know, I am still limited by the cold weather. And so the eggplant that I found that grows the best, produces the most, gives me the most volume, gives me the ability to kind of eat eggplant regularly is the Orient Express from Johnny's. This is an Asian style eggplant, so it's like long and skinny. They're great for stir fries. They chop up and they cook really quickly. A European style eggplant, you can't really chop it up and toss it and have it cook at the same rate that other vegetables do. Whereas the Asian eggplants, like I find they're really nice for cooking into things. And you know, one of the things that we eat a lot of here is tomatoes, zucchinis, and eggplants all kind of cooked together into, you know, and then maybe we'll use that as a sauce, or we'll use that as a base to add to some sort of carbohydrate. That's like, we probably eat that like 100 days out of the year. So having these was like amazing for our ability to eat a lot of eggplant. The fruit is small, but that means that it sets its fruit quicker and the fruit ripens quicker. These kind of take a couple weeks on the plants to ripen before I'm picking it, and the plant has like a really good succession of fruit. The problem with the Asian style eggplant though is there's a lot of things that I enjoy cooking that needs that larger European style eggplant. Really like to do like eggplant sandwiches, treating like an eggplant like a steak. Cut a thick slice of eggplant and pan fry it. It's just, I find it's a really versatile vegetable as a meat substitute to kind of add this like bulk and heaviness to a meal that you don't necessarily get out of like all vegetables. And we do eat meat here, but we don't eat a lot of meat, mostly because it's expensive and because we can't grow it in the garden. So I've always been growing European style eggplants. And the variety that I've been growing in the past was Traviata, and we had pretty good success with it. With it being in the greenhouse, we were able to get a really good flush off of it. And they'd all kind of come on at once. It would be like, oh, it's like end of September and it's finally getting cold, but now all the eggplants that set in July are finally ripened. And so we'd get the, you know, like get totes worth of it. And then we'd cook it into baba ganoush. And the like eggplant mash that you can get out of a European eggplant is just like so good. I'm like drooling, thinking, I'm like, ah. But, you know, even the Traviata being a good productivity eggplant, the productivity just wasn't good enough. So, you know, I was looking for improvements on it. And so this year I'm trying out Turkish Delight. And the thing that was really interesting for me about this is the fact that it was saying that the productivity is up on it because it has a wider window of when fruit will set. The problem with eggplant is that it needs to be kind of this like perfect temperature range for the fruit to set. And because of that, you know, it delays our eggplants, right? Even having it in a greenhouse, we're not using heated greenhouses, so the nighttime temperature dips too low to allow the plants to actually put fruit on. So growing eggplants earlier, growing eggplants to be bigger plants before I plant them out, doesn't necessarily get me more ripe eggplants at the end of the year because, as I said, you know, all this fruit sets in July, it takes 2 months to ripen, you know, and then I kind of harvest it. But, you know, if I could get them to set in June, then I'd be able to be harvesting in August, right? And then there'd be a succession of the fruit that's set in July that I could harvest in September. And, you know, maybe then even I could get some stuff that sets in August that, you know, I'm harvesting off in early October. So Turkish Delight is supposed to, you know, just improve that window. Their fruit is also smaller. So because of that, you know, it's like the Asian eggplants. They ripen really quickly because it's like a cherry tomato versus a beefsteak tomato. Like there's just less fruit to ripen before it's ready to pick. So I'm really excited to try this out. I'm really hopeful that this is gonna be the eggplant of my dreams. I know we had almost zero vegetable content on the channel last year as we transitioned into being a flower farm, and a lot of you spoke up and said that you missed the vegetable content. So I want to let you guys know that the plan is we are going to have probably about a 2,000 square foot vegetable garden this year. We're going to be growing just for ourselves, so it's not going to be on a farm scale, but the nice thing about that is we're going to have a diversity of vegetables, right? Like, as I said, I'm standing in front of my cart. I have like 1,000 varieties and 1,000,000 seeds in this cart, right? We're going to be growing greens, and we're going to be growing roots, and we're going to be growing squashes, and we're going to be growing tomatoes. We're going to be growing the whole variety of it because it's so pleasant to be able to go there and pick your own food out of the garden. So I'm taking this moment to let you guys know there will be some content on it. We'll probably kind of keep it separate, like into its own little thing. But yeah, definitely look forward to some veggie content coming this year. And if you guys have any questions about veggie seeds, let me know down in the comments. I always love to know what you guys want to know.